Okay, so a lot has happened over the last 2 weeks. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll know what I'm talking about. But today I am reviewing this 65mm f2 from Sigma. This is their contemporary I-series lens. It's not a new lens, but it came out about a year ago, maybe even more than that. They sent it to me a couple months ago. I ended up buying it. And I guess that's a little bit of a spoiler as far as how it performs. But let's start by seeing how this thing comes packaged. It comes in a now familiar white box. Inside you get a manual, warranty card, and a few inserts. This lens, like nearly every other I-series lens from Sigma, comes with a plastic front and rear lens cap, but also a magnetic front lens cap that's made out of metal. So if you want to use that instead, it is nice. It also comes with a metal lens hood that attaches to the front. The lens itself feels exceptionally well built. It is compact and has some heft at just over 400 grams. This is an all metal and glass lens, very tight tolerances and excellent finishing. The design is unique and attractive in my opinion. It looks modern and well executed. Starting at the rear, there is a brass lens mount with electronic connections. There's also a rubber gasket around this mount for weather sealing purposes, although this is the only rubber gasket on this lens. At the bottom, there is a Sigma logo, lens specs, contemporary C logo, and an autofocus switch that feels exceptionally well done. 020 indicates that this lens was a 2020 release. In front of all of this is an aperture ring that is just as good as the one on the 20mm. It's nice and tactile and clicky, and I like it. You can flip this ring over to A for auto aperture if you'd like as well. This lens is made in Japan and it has an impressive minimum focusing distance of 0.55 meters or 1.8 feet. At the front there is a super smooth electronic focus ring with just the right amount of dampening and resistance. Finally, the front of the lens is nice and clean. No specks, no writing, just a convex front lens element through which you can see the 9 rounded blade diaphragm. Inside of the lens there are 12 elements in 9 groups with some aspherical and SLD glass. Mounted on my A7C, this is a great setup for portrait work. It's compact and light, but not too light. It doesn't feel cheap and it feels like a well-balanced lens for the camera body's size. It's a lot smaller and easier to carry around than my 85mm f1.4 Art. Alright, so let's see how this lens does. I've tested it on my Sony A7C as well as my A6100. So APS-C and full frame, and all of these examples are straight out of the camera, no editing whatsoever. Ready, set, go. Okay, so I can summarize this lens's performance by saying that it is near flawless. It is exceptionally sharp in the center of the frame wide open, and the corners look almost as good. It's a very flat, very evenly sharp lens. The colors and the contrast are superb with no need to stop down. Bokeh is smooth, not distracting, and without issues. Chromatic aberration, while apparent at times, is well controlled. Flare is also well controlled. There is almost no noticeable vignetting wide open, and there is no pincushion or barrel distortion to mention if you leave the in-camera corrections on, which is what I did. So what are the flaws with this lens? Honestly, there are not many. It does suffer from some noticeable focus breathing if you are racking focus from one end to the other, so it's not the best for creating a short movie film with. It also uses a stepper motor for autofocus, which is not as advanced as newer linear focus motors. However, the autofocus performance on this 65mm is excellent. It locks onto the eyes and rarely hunts with either one of the cameras I tested it on. It is fast at focusing and it is absolutely silent. The last thing that can be viewed as a negative is the focal length of 65mm, which is right in the middle between 50mm and 85. I will tell you that on an APS-C camera such as the A6100, it behaves very similarly to the Sigma 56. On a full frame, it gives you a slightly more relaxed 85mm. I personally like it a lot, but it may take some getting used to if you are accustomed to using either the 50 or 85 on a regular basis. In my personal collection, I have a bunch of portrait lenses to choose from because it's one of my favorite things to shoot, especially recently. But when it came to taking pictures of my new daughter, this was the lens that I chose, this little 65mm. And I chose it because it's a little bit less intimidating than the 85mm f1.4. It also gives you a slightly deeper depth of field so that if you have a subject who is moving, then you don't really have to worry about that super narrow depth of field and getting everything, including the whole face, in focus. It's a lot easier to use, I think, even when you compare it to the Sigma 56 f1.4 on APS-C, because that one can be a little bit challenging to get everything in focus, and you still get a decent amount of bokeh, subject separation. I mean, excellent colors. You guys saw the sharpness of this thing. It truly is a great little lens. Compact, exceptionally well built, and I think priced just about right. So as usual, I have links down in the description below, so please check those out. You can read more specs and you can purchase this lens from those links. You really cannot go wrong with a Sigma prime lens, and you guys have seen that over the years. I've recommended Sigma lenses more than any other lens on this channel. It's kind of bad. I sound like a fanboy. But anyway, let me know down in the comments what you guys think of the results from this lens, and let me know what your favorite portrait lens, either for full frame or APS-C, is. And that's going to be it for me. Stay tuned for more. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.